think that content marketing world is explosive.
It's a really vibrant community of people that take what they do very seriously but have a lot of fun doing it.
Everywhere you turn, every topic you hear, every speaker you hear from, every person you meet has value.
The exhibition hall is incredible. It's a big conference, but it feels intimate at the same time.
There are just so many other little things and venues that you can branch off into, and so I've been excited to learn a little bit more about things like AI.
What I love is the creativity that comes with it.
It's amazing. There's so many speakers and so many sessions, it's hard to pick which one to go to next.
This is inspirational as well as very tactical, like what you can go home and do in your business tomorrow.
It's incredible. The quality and the scale are huge.
It's my 8th year. It's insane.
This is my 12th year coming to Content Marketing World. It changed my career.
We're all trying to create a melting pot within our own experiences and expertise. So seeing the transfer of knowledge kind of happen right in front of your face, it's just beautiful to witness. I mean, it's like a kid in a candy store. So
join us for Content Marketing World 2024, October 21st through the 23rd in San Diego.
Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. Thank you so much for your patience as we start a few minutes late here. And thank you for joining me for this Ask the CM World Community Livestream, where each time we dive into a new topic with an awesome member of our CM World community. And I'm very excited for today's discussion. We're talking about change fatigue. Everyone is exhausted, especially after making it through the pandemic, but change is inevitable in business, and resistance to that change is also just as predictable. So today we're going to chat a little bit about how to motivate those teams you have to willingly get on board with whatever it is you want to, whatever change or innovation you want to bring. So it should be a really great discussion. And if you didn't know, this live stream is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for, you guessed it, all things content marketing. You can head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com for all kinds of resources and educational content. In fact, we just released our 14th annual B2B content marketing research, one of our biggest research projects of the year. Let me hide this there so you can actually see that graphic. So as you can imagine, we ask marketers about generative AI and how it's impacting their jobs. And so here, nearly 3/4, 72% say generative AI. They use generative AI, but 61% say their organization lacks guidance for its use. So that's just crazy to me. We have so many great, interesting findings in the report. So you can head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com and read the research for yourself. Always great stuff every year that we do it. And of course, if you didn't get to join us this year at Content Marketing World, you can still get on-demand access to all the awesome sessions. So if you head over to contentmarketingworld.com and click on register now, you can still sign up and still get the sessions. And that's running across the bottom there if you need that as well. And as always, as you're joining me today, give me a virtual wave, say hello, let me know where you're joining us from. If you have any questions or comments, as always, drop them in the comments section below. It makes for a more engaging live stream when we hear from all of you. I see some of you checking in already, Santiago and Andy saying hello. So hello to you. Thanks for joining us. So let's get the ball rolling here with our question of the day. What has been your experience with change fatigue? Are you seeing this in the work that you do? How are you handling it? Or are you? Can you share with us your experience? We would love to hear from all of you and share it on the live stream here. Hello, Michelle. She's joining us from Nashville. Thanks for joining us. And Ashley as well. All right. Did you know that organizations spend, this is fascinating to me, $30 billion a year planning on change initiatives and 70% of them fail. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. So change fatigue is a significant barrier to innovation, digital transformation, technology adoption. So today we're going to talk a little bit how to address it. Let's get your teams from burnout to buy-in. And today's chat is based on a new book from these two awesome authors here, Jenny Magic and Melissa Breker. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks. We're so glad to be here.
Awesome. So new book. Let me pop it up here so everybody can see. Oh, she said, I know, I have it in the other room. I just thought about that. Like, I have it in the other room. I forgot to bring it over with me. So, Jenny, what do you mean when you're talking about change fatigue, and why do you think it was important to write this book about it?
Absolutely. Well, Harvard Business Review calls the gap between what a change effort requires and employee willingness to do it the transformation deficit. And that just felt a little sterile and cold. But that's actually what we're talking about here with change fatigue, which is there's something that needs to get done and people are not excited about doing it. And what we noticed, Melissa and I both have almost 2 decades in strategy and leading strategies in digital transformation in organizations. And what we noticed is there was a lot of change in the pandemic, obviously just like working from home, that kind of change. But a lot of the big innovation change got put on hold. And so now that we're sort of, quote, back to normal, so to speak, there is a deluge of pent up backlog of innovations that are kind of getting pushed forward. I think the report was that the average employee is seeing 10 planned enterprise changes in the last year, up from 2 in 2016. So the pace of change is dramatically increasing. At the same time, that willingness to change has fallen off a cliff. So willingness to support a change, an organizational change, was around 74% in 2016. Last year, it was just 43%. So you have this massive increase in the ask and a massive decrease in the willingness. And that gap is creating a huge problem for organizations. It's also creating a huge problem for employee mental health, which is, going to push us into retention problems and loyalty issues and just like an icky feeling at work. So we don't like that icky feeling, and we would love for people to really enjoy the exciting thing that change can be. And so our book was really a bridge to try to help map from where we are to where we want to go.
Andy says here, this will pop up here. Yes, everyone is tired of all the change, new technology, new strategy, new people. That's another big one, right? There's a lot of changeover as well. And Christy says here, change management has to become a core competency. So that's a good one as well. So Melissa, what are some of the change initiatives that you're talking about, you're seeing, and what are some of the common pain points marketers feel when it comes to all this change?
Well, it's actually, as Andy pointed out, often change initiatives fall into 3 buckets. So it could be a new technology. So for marketers, it might mean a new knowledge management system or a new CRM or update. It could be a process improvement. So that's how we work together. It might be a new workflow as a result of a technology. Or it could be something as simple as having new team members join, or perhaps a role change for specific people in your team. But regardless of all of whatever the trigger is, we often find that the pain points that we hear from people really can land in bigger problems, like a lack of alignment. So the problem is that people aren't communicating in a way that makes sense, or maybe a resistance to change. So people know that it's coming, but perhaps they don't understand what's in it for me, or why should I get involved? Or on the people side, it may be having the wrong people in place to get the work done in the first place. So there's a lack of experience or training to support change initiatives. And that's why Jenny and I decided that writing a book like this could help create a roadmap for people to create success in their teams and actually get people on board and buying in sooner.
So, marketing leaders, they want to institute the change initiative, but you say they they are like, okay, we're all in, we're going to do this, but they tend to do some common things that sabotage their success. What are those common things that they're doing?
I don't know if you've heard of the it's my way or the highway approach. This idea around forcing change is often things that stories that we hear from our clients. Trying to shove that resistance down by trying to be the biggest voice in the room. That's another thing. But often there's other things like psychological safety. Like the team doesn't feel safe to actually bring their concerns forward. And they lack the understanding that all change, regardless of who you are, is actually individual change. So we can plan for change, but people come along on their own journey because change affects individuals differently. And you might need different kind of support as you go. I think the thing that often stands out too is people share the need to know communication. So there's no clear path forward. And then it's like you get little bits of information along the way. So it's important to be aware of different behaviors and mindsets and create and engage communication that connects people around the vision and where we're heading, and being open to feedback from people in the team to adjust the sails, as it were, as more information becomes available. We need to be realistic. Also, that's the final thing. Sometimes it's like, we're doing this thing. It's great. And people are like, is it? Is it? And are we actually going to get there? Because I don't know. So setting realistic expectations, keeping the lines of communication open, and building trust within the team can make such a difference.
I love it. I would just add to that, and we love the letter C in our change roadmap. So if you're looking for 3 things to jot down that make a change a lot more successful, you want to make sure you really understand the catalyst. What is causing this thing to be a topic of discussion right now? And then really examine that catalyst. Is it truly urgent? Is it truly a priority? And does it deserve to be elevated over whatever else we decided was a catalyst the last time we sat down to do this? So some of these changes need to be paused and maybe reprioritized and slotted into a future space so that we're not overwhelming our team. Second, we want to evaluate capacity. Does our team have the resources they need to take this on? And are they in the right mindset to take this on? So that's sort of a 2-pronged approach. Do they have the training they need? Do they have the tools they need? Do they have the time they need? And also, are they mentally willing to get on board with us? And then the final C of building buy-in is commitment. So has our leadership committed to this project? A lot of times we see change projects that are sort of shiny object syndrome, and leaders sort of send a whole team of folks off down a journey to explore or build an RFP or think about how we might change everything to, include AI in our marketing content creation, for example, only to get to a thoughtful presentation by this group that's been tasked and to have it blocked by, well, we don't have budget for that, or there's no way we're going to pause our efforts in order to do what you've assigned. So these failed changes where there's a lot of energy and no commitment really sour the market for the next time you're going to bring a change conversation forward. So making sure that any change you're bringing to your broader team has your full support and buy-in and has been thoughtfully considered can solve a lot of the change problems that we see on the ground.
I'm talking today with Melissa and Jenny here, the authors of the new book, Change Fatigue. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments section and let us know what your experience is with change fatigue in your organization. We'd love to hear that as well. So Jenny, there are different types of change leaders, as you identify in the book, and not everyone is going to play the same role in the process, right? You need different people, different parts of the process. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Through our work, we developed the Change Leadership Styles Assessment just for people to be able to figure this out for themselves. But the idea is that there are 5 different personas that we see come forward in almost every change initiative, and they're all essential for the project to succeed. Unfortunately, depending on how the team is structured, who got the authority baton, who's in charge of decision making, who is the better communicator, you can end up with an outsized emphasis on one or the together of these personas. So really quickly to run through them, the visionary is often the person who sees where we're going to go and has this idea for an ideal outcome. And they have this fantastic way of selling the big picture. The downside of the visionary is they often are really terrible at leaving stepping stones for our individual contributors to follow along to get to this vision. Another persona is the analyzer. These are our fantastic project managers who really understand the value of a plan with milestones and timelines. They are essential to laying out those stepping stones we just talked about for success. Unfortunately, the analyzer needs to be careful not to get too locked in on their plan, because we know that every single change initiative is going to come across new information and need to adapt and evolve. So the analyzer needs to balance their need for a plan with their ability to adapt that plan. Our connectors are really, really people focused, and that's an amazing asset where they're building relationships. They're listening in one-on-ones and behind the scenes to the resistance and feedback and concerns that are coming forward. And they're really great at helping assign tasks in the project to the people that are most motivated to do them. So we often talk about lazy leadership, where you assign tasks just based on the org chart, which is efficient from a leader's perspective, but it really doesn't take into account what motivates and drives people to want to fulfill that task. So our connectors are awesome resources in really understanding the individuals. Connectors need to be careful not to let a charismatic individual or their focus on harmony block the ability to move forward and keep checking things off. Our innovators are our agile thinkers. They want to get started. They want to kind of skip the plan and just move to the first success and learn from the experiment. Again, an awesome mindset to bring to the table. Innovators need to be careful that each of those little experiments is still pointing in the direction of the final goal, because it's really easy to sort of experiment and kind of get a little sideways and a little off and end up in a very different place than the original goal. And then finally, our advisors. These are focused to our people who aren't actually even focused on the particular project, but they care about the project as it relates to the organizational big picture strategic change. So they're not super interested in this knowledge management system, but if we're convinced it'll help an efficiency that may help, Q4 whatever, they're going to be on board. The advisor plays an important role in using their social capital to tell the story of the change. Our advisors need to make sure they stay enough connected that they can actually answer questions about the details and not just leave it to the experts. So we found that those 5 mindsets really are essential in having a change project succeed. And even just acknowledging where you are and who others are on the team can be a really useful first step as usually a cross-functional team that doesn't work together comes together and tries to put forward a change.
Andy has a question here, which I love. How do you feel about the good cop, bad cop approach to change management? Basically, of one leader who's carrying the stick and another who's carrying the carrot. Either of you want to
I love this so much. I think I love that metaphor, and with a little bit of nuance, we use it, or at least I use it all the time, in the sense that I'm often an external consultant on change projects. And so one of my goals is to try to let the internal people carry the carrots and the external people bring the sticks. And this balance of, I've seen this fail in other places. I'm not saying you're going to fail, but as an outsider, I would just like to give you some feedback that may be useful. I think if both parties are internal, you got to be careful not to make sure that you're, painting too black and white of a picture when obviously everyone's got relationships in the organization. But that dynamic can be really helpful in getting people to see a new perspective or think in a new way.
Yeah, bring that outside voice, I'm sure, helps, rather than, she keeps telling me that over and over again, right? Whatever.
I think that one other thing I would say, research really indicates that sponsorship and leadership is the massive driver. So on Change ProSci, the research that they've done, if you don't have a sponsor that is active and visible on whatever initiative you're supporting, it's unlikely it's going to be successful. So it's a really good call out in terms of making sure that regardless of your internal team needs, that leadership, we don't want to have that leadership is in place and is doing really great work to make sure the initiative's promoted and people know it's happening.
So Carol here says, I call them change champions. These people who understand and can evangelize change. Love that name, Carol. Thanks for sharing. All right, Melissa. So how do marketing leaders plan for any sort of transformation journey? You talk about a 3-part approach in the book.
Yeah, actually, Jenny has already covered that off earlier when she was talking about the catalyst, capacity, and commitment. But what I can say, being able to get to, maybe I'll do a little bit of the next level down because she introduced it. One of the things that we found is in the catalyst and assessing what that is really getting to the root cause of what is hurting and why are we trying to solve this problem right now? Because understanding, getting clear on what the factors are for the underlying problem will help create a strong need for change. One tool that we often use is is asking questions around triggering the change itself. And then from the capacity side, this is where we can get really curious about whether or not we can fix it. So it might be looking at, how much change fatigue are people facing right now? Because if people are exhausted, how are we going to balance their work in a way to make good sense? And often we'll do something called a confidential inquiry, where we'll actually interview team members and we'll ask them about the current state of affairs. So being able to do that means that we can identify things like risks in advance. We can understand how much resistance we may be facing. And more importantly, how ready people are to step into new ways of working, new ways of thinking, and new technology that they may have to learn about. And then finally, from a commitment perspective, I mentioned earlier the importance of getting sponsors active and visible. We really need to think about, do we have executive buy-in? So being able to summarize all of the thinking and the problems, like the work that we've done earlier, and actually make sure that we secure commitment with them is essential, because it means we come to them not necessarily with a solution, but here's what we understand so far. So if we're setting a vision, we can get everyone to agree, because sometimes, as we all know, it just takes one voice in the room to unravel and unpack earlier thinking, because there's a different agenda. So creating that buy-in and securing that commitment to say, right, everyone, here's what we understand. This is why it's important. Here are the people that are going to be impacted. Here's where we may face some resistance. And here's some ideas around what the solution is, not the solution, but some ideas that we could explore. Do we all agree? And taking that pause can make a really big difference, because it means that we're all pointed in the right direction versus that, that thing that happens in teams where it's like, I thought it was a duck. No, I thought it was a rabbit. It's the same situation. So being able to do that in a way means that you've got the capacity, you understand what people can do, you understand what the problem is, and you can secure commitment. So people are ready to move forward and get to the right solution.
All right. Do you guys have, did you want to say something, Jenny?
I was just going to add that everything Melissa described should all happen before the cross-functional committee meets to start discussing solutions. We talk about that a lot. Like, the solution comes after you have the buy-in to the problem. And that's really where you start to get the most effective team meetings on the other side of a change project.
So these two have some really great stuff in the book, which of course I left in the other room. But, and also there she has it, Melissa, lots of other resources as well. So obviously you can go to changefatigue.com. Where else can we get the book if we're interested in getting the book?
It's, all over the internet, but the links are all there under the book tab. You can also take the quiz that we talked about, and we have a course launching next week, the Build Better Buy-in DIY online course, where you can get a lot of these templates we talked about for your own team to work through.
Yeah, and it's really, it was a really great read. Like, you guys distilled it all down. So congratulations, a great job. You're both very enthusiastic about it. So I appreciate you sharing everything with our audience here today. So, and thank you for all of you for joining us. Thank you for all the questions as well. And everyone, I hope you all have a good week. I'll see you.